Good morning, and welcome to Getting It Done with Gratitude. Well, we are fast approaching that time when we'll be easing out of what we would call the new year. And I bet that for most of you, you're thinking, New Year? Well, that's gone already. What is she talking about? But, we're still in February. So it may feel as if we've been doing a whole lot of stuff. And I'm sure that we have been. But we're
Yeah.
still in that newness of 2024. And this morning, we really want to talk to you about how do you navigate the challenges that may pop up now at this time? How do you get beyond that, get through that, so that you are able to accomplish those amazing goals that you have, where you get to pursue that passion that you've been yearning to do for so long? So, this morning, Shelly and I want to take a look at how you're going to navigate these obstacles that may come up, but more importantly, how gratitude plays a part in really just helping you to get through it.
Mhm.
So, before we get all into it, because once we start to talk about getting it done with gratitude, there's no holding us back. Barely the 30 minutes can hold us in. So, for those of you who are joining us for the very first time, we welcome you. To those of you who have stayed this journey with us, we thank you so very much. We truly, truly appreciate that you have hung in here with us as we navigated this new journey for ourselves. And we have really, really been enjoying it and having a great time. So, we thank you. So, whether you watch us live, whether you catch up on the replays, or you follow us on our YouTube channel, please know that we appreciate you and we are so grateful for your support. Who is this lady talking? Well, I'm Karen Williams Thompson. I am a life strategist and a personal growth coach. And in a nutshell, I love nothing more than helping women say yes to themselves, having that aha moment that just gets them to connect the dots. And how do we do that? We get crystal clear on what is it they truly want. Oftentimes in life, we start off on a path, and at some point in that journey, we stop and we say, is this really where I want to be? Is this really what I want to be doing? So I help you to get absolutely clear on what is it that you truly want to do, navigate those things that may have been holding you back or having you feel, oh, stuck, I'm spinning here, like how we would say, spinning top in mud, spinning, and going nowhere, and show you how we can create a plan, a strategic plan based on your values, based on your vision that allows you to achieve the goals that you have set for yourself, to live the life that you have imagined, and most importantly, to say yes to your dreams. So that's a little bit about me. Want to know more? Please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. And likewise for Shelly, you can find us on LinkedIn, you can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on Instagram. So, Shelly, how are you today?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing okay. I think this conversation about reset is very timely because we're at this point in the year when um it really does feel for some people like there's need for a reset. So
Mhm,
some people would have, done their things, they're moving, they're going, and at this point, they've been doing all the things that they've been told to do, doing all the things that they think they're supposed to be doing,
mhm,
but they're like, the wheels are turning, just like you said, the wheels are turning and there's no movement forward. They feel like they're still not getting what they want to do. They're not getting it done, they're not feeling accomplished, and they're really, the word really is stuck, right? They
mhm,
really,
mhm,
really do feel stuck. And that is something that I am I realized when I was thinking about things, preparing for the program. I realized that a lot of what we've been talking about has been um, around really getting unstuck and really building that momentum moving forward with gratitude, because that is kind of the essence, and it's like we're looking at it from multiple perspectives, And sometimes we need that in order to be able to move on. And so it's something that for me as a gratitude guide and habit coach, it's something that I encounter all the time. And because I'm so keen and open to it, I see it sometimes in my own life, in family, in my clients, in my students. It shows up that sometimes we really do need to reset. And we need to reset more often than we think, than we might acknowledge. And
Mhm.
I feel like, every day is a kind of reset, at least for me, with
Yeah.
my daily gratitude practice. I feel like I get that opportunity to reset and take the day, a new and renewed, vibrance and spirit and everything just with that daily gratitude practice. And that's what I do for my clients as a gratitude guide and habit coach. I show them how to implement that daily habit of gratitude to reset every day. And so what I've noticed and what happened to me, which is why I'm doing all of this, when I hit 40 and just thereafter, it's like that's when my mind sort of opened and I thought, what am I doing? Where am I going? What am I doing what I want to do? And
Hmm.
I realize a lot of people have that kind of epiphany. There's
Yeah.
a saying, life begins at 40.
Yeah. And
That,
that there's a reason for that. Yeah.
yeah,
You're right.
and so when we get into that mode and we start to rethink and observe, we feel like we have to add more and do more and just overwhelm ourselves trying to get our goals done. But it doesn't have to work that way. With
Hmm.
gratitude and with the right habits, you can achieve what you want to achieve without burning out, without feeling overwhelmed and utterly distressed, at the end of it, thinking that, okay, when I'm finished, I'll have fun. When I'm finished, I'll feel okay. You can't feel okay and have fun on the way
Hmm. Hmm.
with gratitude and the right habits. And so I show my clients how to say it right, which is the resetting and rethinking of your thoughts, how to say it loud, which is making it out loud in terms of tangible practices, and then how to say it always, which is that systematic consistency of the gratitude and the habit. And with that, I call it the gratitude strategy. We really do get it done with gratitude.
Amen to that.
Yep,
We
yep, yep.
certainly, certainly do.
And
And
today
you
we're
know,
going to be talking about the what was it? The four ways to reset with gratitude. Yeah, that's it.
yes, navigating those challenges because the truth is
Yeah.
this, no matter whenever you make a plan, no matter what you decide, life happens. And we
Oh
can't get
yeah.
away from that. So it is, I think it is so important for us to understand that life will happen. Let's own that. But let us not stay there. Let us not then let it take us down another willowy path. Let us instead understand how we can take steps. We can be proactive. We can take the initiative and we could just implement four simple things. I'm sure that there are more, but we're just going to touch on four because we love this stuff. And if we start to go, we might keep you all here for a little bit. So we, or you might leave us here, whichever. But no, all seriousness, obstacles going to happen in life. Things are going to happen in life, but
Hmm.
how we navigate them is what really makes the difference. There was a thing about it's not your altitude, it's your attitude. And so it's the
Yeah.
how we just flip these things around. And so there are these four things that we want to talk or focus on this morning. One of them is the perspective shift. And so when you think about perspective, we think about ownership, we think about how each of us have our own perception of something. So both Shelly and I may be facing the same obstacle, but our perspective on it may be totally different. But what we can both do is apply gratitude to
Hmm.
that to see how it works. So that I'm going to let Shelly now take the perspective shift and really show you how to embody gratitude into that. And so we just do that with each of these 4 steps so that you really get a clear understanding of these are the things that I can do when an obstacle hits, when a shift happens that I wasn't expecting. This is just the
Mhm.
steps that I
Mhm.
need to take. So if you want to grab a notepad and pen or something that you may have nearby, just so that you can remember them. But even so, it's going to be here on our pages, so you can always catch the replay and capture anything that you missed. So the perspective shift is all about not wallowing and staying where we are at that time.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm gonna share a really silly personal experience that really emphasizes and highlights the fact that when we are in negative spaces, we tend to see things in negative ways, whether they are presenting challenges or not. We kind of make things into challenges.
mhm.
And I remember once when I was, well, in my, I guess, I'm trying to figure out the best way to put it. There was a time when I was angry at many people and many things, and this is like, it wasn't quite yet me having this kind of life crisis at 40, but it was coming close to that. And everything around me was annoying. And I particularly did not like when you're driving and there are these little guides in the road in the center, little
Reflectors.
amber, yeah, little
Mhm.
amber reflectors,
Yeah.
and if you drive over them, there's a little bump.
Yes. Mhm.
That used to annoy me so bad. I cannot explain to you. Now, when I look back and every time, we drive over it, I laugh because I remember that time when it was so annoying. And so, you hear the boop, 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 boop when the car is driving. And there were some days, in going to the car, I felt like my husband just hit every single one. And at some point, it got into my head, he can't be hitting every single one. This is the middle of the road. Is he doing this on purpose? Because it was annoying me so much. And that might sound like a stupid thing. I mean, I'm thinking back at it now and thinking, wow, did I really think that? But it was because of the space that I was in and all the
Mhm.
negativity that I was dealing with. And for something like that, it was bothering me so much that I was looking for a reason for it happening and focusing on what's the cause of it and who is doing this to me and why are they doing this to me. And I mean, that's a silly example, but we could see that in other aspects of life where we think that people are doing things to us for a reason, and that reason is they don't like us, or they're trying to hurt us, and we're just thinking of everything in this negative way.
Mhm.
And one day, after working on the gratitude and different things, it occurred to me that it when you're driving, these things happen. It's in the middle of the road. If you're overtaking, you'd pass over it. If you're trying to avoid something on the side, you'd pass over it. And I realized that the reason it was happening so often is because of my husband being so careful with his driving and making sure that he avoided the obstacles and drove with efficiency and those kinds of things. And that in itself, that's where the perspective shift comes in,
Mhm.
where we stop looking at situations as things that are happening to us to harm us and to upset us and to annoy us. And we start seeing things that are happening for us to protect us and to guide us and to help shape us into the people that we are becoming. And
Mhm.
that shift in my thinking, it no longer annoys me. And when it happens, sometimes I remember when it used to annoy me and I chuckle to myself, thinking, how could I have thought even remotely that it was being done deliberately to annoy me? That's like a ridiculous thought. But at the time when I was annoyed and living in the negativity, I didn't even consider how ridiculous the thought was because of the situation I was in and how I was feeling. So I think this idea of the perspective shift is significant, absolutely significant. Sometimes we call it a mindset shift and all these kinds of things. But for me, it began with being grateful for situations and
Mm-hmm.
being grateful for, I had to think of, okay, what can I be grateful for in this situation? Safe journey, um, no challenges, different things. And through that process of applying my understanding of gratitude and sort of like what I call infusing the situation with gratitude, the perspective shift was able to take place.
Yeah. And I think that that's really the important thing, that it is my perspective, but I can shift this perspective.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
really and so by shifting the perspective, you are not dwelling in the what is happening moment and seeing it all as something that's happening to you. But like you so
yeah,
rightly
yeah,
said, you shift the perspective and see what is happening for you. What is the learning? What is the inspiration, and part of that was a safe journey. And so
yeah.
shifting the perspective, and I like that word because perception is belief, and everybody's
Hmm.
perception is unique to them. So I really like the fact that we can shift our perspectives. No one has to do it for us. We have that control, we have that power. And I think that's really a very important thing, a very important takeaway, that you can own the responsibility for
Yeah,
shifting your perspective.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
else that we have talked about so many times, I think way back in one of our first top 10 episodes, it was resilience.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
resilience booster, as we are calling it now, is another way to navigate challenges. So, gratitude tells us that when things happen, they say you fall 7 times, you get up the eighth. So resilience helps you to build that capacity within.
Yeah,
And when you have when you are practicing gratitude, when you have setbacks, when you have difficulties, you are able to, what's the word I was looking for? It just was there and left me. I don't like when that happens to me. Anyway, whatever that word was, you use the gratitude in that moment, and that helps you again to take the shift and to come out. Because sometimes it is so easy to say, "Oh my goodness, this isn't working. I told you so. I knew this wasn't going to happen."
hmm,
You can
hmm.
really get caught up in that. And before you know it, you've got, like snakes and ladders, and you land on the snake's head. From one minute you was at the top, and then the next
Yeah.
minute you meet the snake's head, and you're all the way at the bottom.
You mean the one just before the ending, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so
There's one
you're
right by
seeing,
99.
yeah, you're seeing the goal in sight and it's within reach, and then whoop, it's just gone.
So you really have to have resilience then to get
Yeah,
back
yeah,
up and start that journey anew.
yeah. So how does gratitude work in that? Now, with resilience, the idea of gratitude, it works very closely with the concept that we spoke about just now in terms of that shifting in perspective, right? And the idea with the resilience is that we think about situations differently, and it allows us to kind of step back and step out of the drama, step out of the setback, and think about briefly, how did this happen? What actually is happening? How can I change this? How can I learn from it? And so when it comes to resilience and gratitude, it really is, and I'm going to be using this phrase over and over, infusing situations with gratitude, simply because that is what you have to do. So when you're building that perspective shift, you infuse with gratitude. When you're dealing with the resilience, you're infusing with gratitude. And so it's like when I get an anxiety attack and I am, looking at that situation thinking, I can't do this. This is happening. This is a sign, I'm laughing, but I'm thinking, sometimes the minute we get a setback, we think, ooh, this is a sign.
Yeah, yeah. People do that. Yep, yep.
Yeah, this is a sign that I'm not supposed to do this. Well, actually, it's a sign that you might need to rethink some things, but not necessarily give up on your goal. And so what happens is that the gratitude gives you that space between the distress and decision. And ooh, I need to write that down. Gratitude is the space between distress and decision because what it really does is that it allows you to breathe, and then when you breathe and you can feel a little bit calmer, you're able to really pick up and get going again, because now you're not thinking, because remember you're working on the perspective shift. And the thing with all of these four items, it's not as if they're happening one after the other, or if they're
Yeah.
happening one at a
Together.
time somewhere. They're happening together. So while you're working on the perspective shift, the resilience is building, and the other two that we will get to eventually. And so what's happening is that you're building that resilience, and so you've already had the perspective shift. So you're able to step back and look at things with more positivity, and you get that encouragement to move on, because you know that challenges happen. And it's not a personal attack on you by the universe that you're having this challenge. It's not a personal attack on you by anybody that you're having this challenge. It is an opportunity for you to learn and grow and become that person that you're aiming to be. And that's
Absolutely.
how the resilience is boosted when you work with the gratitude.
No,
Yeah.
that is so true. And that leads us right into mindfulness as an anchor. Because as Shelley was talking, I was saying, oh, yeah, it really does all come together very neatly.
Yeah.
So you have the perspective shift, you have your resilience boost where you know, okay, what can I take from this? But then you need to just anchor yourself in mindfulness. And so many people talk about mindset shift and mindfulness practices, etc. But let's keep it really, really simple. When you're being mindful, you are being present to what is, to where
Hmm.
you are right now. So,
Yeah.
and you can, there are tools, there are things that you can do. Some people, if they're, like Shelly talked about her anxiety attack, if they're feeling one coming on, they may meditate. Some people may journal. Some people may just um, sit quietly and maybe just do some breathing, just,
Yeah.
but all of the actions that they are taking are to help them come back to the present, to not focus on all of the chaos, but to focus on what is in front of them and what they can take actions on right now. Often when we have set goals that we want to achieve and they look so big and sometimes they look a bit scary, but that's okay because you're not trying to get the whole thing done at the same time.
Yeah.
When you are being anchored with mindfulness, you are looking at that goal and saying, yes, it's a long way off, I get that, but this is what I'm going to do, and this is what we help you do. We help you break it down into these manageable steps, manageable milestones that you will achieve. And by doing that, you stay present to mindfulness. And then, even when life happens, you are able to look for the inspiration, look for the learning, continue to grow, which is your resilience, because you have taken the perspective shift. And so it
Yeah,
all weaves together to help
it
you to
does.
navigate the challenges that
Yep.
may come up. And so being anchored in mindfulness is something that really helps us, and gratitude helps us to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where building habits come in and working on habits that help you get to where you need to be. Because actually, if we take an objective look at many of the things that we do and many of the practices that we have, how many of them can we say were actually deliberately chosen? Much
Mhm.
of what we do and much of what we practice on a regular and the habits that we have, they were kind of default habits. While growing up, we saw our parents do things in a certain way, people around us did things in a certain way, and so we kind of end up doing things in that particular way. And at some point in our lives, maybe we had a particular situation and we started doing things a particular way in order to navigate that situation, and we got into the habit, but then the situation no longer exists, yet still we're perpetuating that same habit. And so when it comes to being mindful, the one number one thing that I recommend is a regular review of habits. Now, when I say regular, I don't mean every day, every minute kind of thing. You know, you want to, like, maybe I would say once a week when you're doing your planning and so on for the week, or once a month when you're doing planning for the month. Um, Take a look at the habits that you have and really consider, okay, this is where I want to be, this is the kind of person I want to be, this is what I want to be doing. Are my habits supporting this? And
Mhm.
habits that you see that are not supporting it, those are the ones that you want to gradually reduce, because you're not going to say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore and pff, it's gone. It takes, we took some of us years to develop certain habits that no longer serve us. They served us at one point, but they no longer serve us. So we have to take a little time. It probably wouldn't be years, but we can take some time to remove that habit. And then as we're removing that, we're looking at introducing habits that serve us. And so we really do have to be mindful about these situations and have an anchor that keeps us steady, that regardless of what's going on around, we can come back to this space to feel comforted, to feel the courage that comes from the motivation and the resilience, and to feel that perspective shift in that space. And that's what gratitude does as well, especially in that daily habit of gratitude. So that's for me, that's my anchor, that daily habit of gratitude, that
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
it in the morning so that it sets my day. So it sort of anchors me in the morning before I do anything else.
Yes. And being anchored is so good because it helps you to feel stable. It helps you to feel, yes, I can move from this space, and yes, I can get these things done. So it's really a very affirming thing to experience when you are anchored. And gratitude really does help you to do that. And so the last one that we're going to drop in here quickly is our motivation igniter. So we
Hmm.
have done all of these things. We have shifted the perspective. We have taken the lessons. We have continued to learn and grow. We have had the mindfulness, we've anchored ourselves in gratitude. We need to then express it. We need to shout from the rooftops as loud as possible, as often as possible,
Yeah.
everything that we are grateful for, and keep reminding ourselves and keep ourselves motivated and excited about what we are doing. And when you do all of these things together, things are going to change. things are going to shift. Just like how Shelley looks back now and laugh when they drive over the reflectors in the road, you too
Yeah.
will have those moments when you are going to look back and laugh at something that occurred, because the perspective would have changed. Everything would have changed about it. You would have changed because you would have grown into who you are blossoming to be anyways, and living your purpose. And so therefore it makes such a difference. And this is why you would hear Shelley say all the time to say it always.
Yeah.
Always then
Yeah.
be able to say, thank you for being there for me. You often hear me say when I come on here, I am so grateful that Shelley took this whimsical idea that I had and said, no, let's run with it and let's do this, and this instead, you know. So be grateful for the resources you have. Be grateful for the persons in your life who are going to say, you said you were going to do this. What's the problem? Get up and do it. The persons who are going to be there when you need that good cry or when you need to vent and they're
Mhm.
just there,
Mhm.
you know. So say it always and say it loud. So
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah, so to wrap it up, we're calling this the motivation igniter. So the four ways to reset with gratitude: perspective shift, resilience boost, mindfulness anchor, and then the motivation. Because when you stop with gratitude and when I say stop, pause with gratitude, and you really look at the things that you're grateful for, you'd realize that, huh, it's not so bad. I can do
Yes.
this, right? And
So
so
true.
that's how the motivation comes in. And
Mhm.
so what we really want you to remember this morning as we wrap up is that infuse every situation with gratitude, and not only will you find yourself moving forward with more joy, you would have that grace, because you could look back at the situation and realize how silly you were, but then that's okay. That's what you knew back then, and you know better now, and you are doing better now, and that's the beauty. And so you don't dwell on the negative things of the past, that you can see differently because your perspective has shifted. You've built that resilience, you've established your mindfulness anchor, and now you're motivated to take that next step and absolutely get it done with gratitude. So we hope you've taken notes, and so
Yeah.
now you understand how to reset with gratitude. So we'll see you next week when we talk a little bit more about how to really go after your goals and achieve them with gratitude. So have a good rest of today, and we'll see you next week. Bye
Take
everybody.
care, everyone.